What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day it is that you're watching this. Well, I had recently posted up a video and I was talking a little bit about the spy shots, and well, that was cool. But one of the funny things is that there was a lot of pushback against this car potentially having an inline six. I found that to be curious because, well, if it has the inline six, in other words, if it's got the Hurricane inline six, there's a chance that that car will be significantly faster than any of the naturally aspirated offerings that have been, well, what we've grown used to. 5.7 would be superseded by potentially a 420 horsepower version of that engine, maybe even higher, could be as high as 430. Now, I want you to think about that for just a second. That is a 60 horsepower gain, 60 of them, 60 whole ass horsepowers, guys. What about for the Scat Pack guys? 540. That's a minimum that engine's going to be putting out. Let's say it's 550. And guys, I've driven the Grand Wagoneer with this engine in it. It is no joke. It is legit fast. Considering it's 6,500 pounds, it's a land barge, and it's got the aerodynamic coefficient of a barn. If that ends up being the case, and if the car comes with that engine combination, that is a 50, 60 horsepower increase over the Scat Pack. So you plus 50 on the power for either one, and then you subtract an amount of weight. I'm curious to see what this car is going to end up weighing, because if the looks of this car are any giveaway, this thing could check in at about 3,800 pounds. That is a 400-pound weight difference, give or take. I'll take anything more than that, but 400 pounds, guys, is a lot of weight. Plus 50 horsepower minus 400 pounds. Guys, in drag racing, that is almost a square gain. You're going to pick up 4/10 from the weight, and you're going to pick up 4/10 potentially from the power, if not more. You could be looking at damn near a second quicker. Tire for tire. Put a set of drag wheels and tires on this thing. So your Scat Pack that used to run 1150s is now a 1090 or 1080 car. Boys, that's Hellcat fast. Stock Hellcats are 1080 cars in decent weather. 1072, I think, is the best I ever got out of Revlon. 1076. One of the two. It was a 107X, and it wasn't no. So what you need to understand is that with the HO variant, you could actually be looking at a car that is legit Hellcat fast, and it's nothing to do with a Hellcat. So I know that the car got a lot of heat, but I just am, I need a bit of an open mind. Plus, guys, look, there is a group of guys that are of a certain age. A lot of people were really upset about the V8 going away. By the way, can I get a sound check from you guys? Am I sounding okay? My bar down here is not acting right. So if I sound cool. If I sound bad, let me know. But listen, guys, there are some of us that are of a certain age. And we're used to certain cars. We're used to certain cars being a major player as far as racing, roll racing, drag racing, things like that. We're used to stuff like Grand Nationals, Supras, anything with a 4-cylinder and 4 valves per cylinder that you could boost. We're used to Vipers. We're used to Yeah, the Skyline was a big deal back then. The RX-7. We all were sold the idea that the V8 was going away back in I can tell you exactly when it was. There's two times, and this is something you guys have got to remember, boys, because you need to know where you come from to know what the significance of what you've had is, and really where you would have probably been anyway. So in 1982, give or take, the V8 was basically on its last leg. There were some EPA mandates. There were some CAFE, which is corporate average fuel economy standards. There were some things that were coming into play, and cars that really didn't expect to see land, like Corvette, like Camaro, like Mustang. Those cars were out. They were basically, the Vet would have stayed, but the Camaro was out. The Mustang was potentially out. And keep in mind, you think that you're talking about a Mustang with a 302. Guys, there's like the 4.8 liter or whatever it is, the 255 that the Mustang had. We all know the deal with the 305 that the Camaro had. All of these, and this is after the 400 cubic inch smog motor era too. So thinking about that moving forward, V8's got a bit of a breath of fresh air with some of the technology that was being developed to make the smaller engines more powerful and more fuel economy friendly. And then the late 80s, early 90s kicked in. And this was kind of a dark era. The Camaro was basically looking at its last iteration, with the 4th gen being on its way out soon enough. But the Mustang is the one that you need to reel in here. Back in, well, what was it? 1994 or not? No, 1996. The Mustang was going to be the Probe GT. It was a done deal. That was a wrap. And it was going to be the end of the V8 for the Ford, at least for a while. And there was an immense amount of public backlash over this. I actually owned a Probe GT. It's basically a Mazda 3. It's a great car. I loved it. Actually, it's pretty fast for its day too. But the thing that I'm trying to drive home for you guys is that there are and have been there are means to keep the V8 on life support, if you will, and there have been technologies that have kept it alive. Fuel injection, direct injection, variable cam timing, all of the things that the Coyote engine employs and all of the things that the Hurricane engine employs, plus boost, has gotten us to here. But again, I mean, I come from an era where the Cyclone and the Typhoon were the cars, or in this case, trucks, to really get excited about. The turbocharger was going to be the way of the future. And you would see this with, you know, in heavy equipment. You saw this with the going away from supercharged diesels, all turbo diesels, much more efficient, much more power. You get the idea. So where does that leave us? Well, if we're leaving the V8 behind, we're doing so for good reason. And the argument comes in this form, though, to keep the V8. If you can do it to a 4-cylinder and you can do it to a 6-cylinder, guarantee you can do it to an 8-cylinder. If you can build a 3-liter inline 6, why can't you build a 4-liter V8? Twin that. I mean, that's what Mercedes-Benz did. That's what BMW did. Those are 4.4-liter V8s that are just absolutely monsters in terms of being able to create power. Part of it has to do with complexity. Part of it has to do with just the sheer cost of building those things. I get it. There's a law of marginal utility that'll kick in. But the reality, guys, is that to build a V8 is an amount of money more that is significant when you look at the power potential. So you have to remember that engineers will engineer an engine. In this situation, it's a power plant. I need a power plant that generates 550 horsepower, and I want it to rev to 7,000 RPM. I want it to have 6 cylinders. Engineer goes, you got it, boss. And they designed the Hurricane. You can do the same for the V8. You can do the same for any of them. But at some point, you're going to start cost engineering into these things. Would you rather have, guys, let me ask this question to you. This is a legit question. Would you rather have, because of cost, let's say you have $5,000 to build an engine. Would you rather have an inline 6 that could easily handle anything you could ever possibly throw at it, including bad fuel, including tuner stuff, including bad tuning, whatever the case is? Basically a nuke-proof inline 6. Or would you rather build something like, I don't know, the 6-liter Power Stroke, right? Like, it makes good power, but it's fragile. What would you rather have? Oh, you tried to boost the V8 and it just disintegrated. Meanwhile, you've got 6 cylinders that are making 1,800 horsepower. It's just a bit of a thought experiment, but the idea is that you can put more money if you're going to spend X amount of dollars, period, into discussion. We are budgeting and spending $5,000 on a 6-cylinder. Well, that means that you've got, well, 3/4 of the parts to buy. So you can spend 33% more. And that's the idea that you're looking at. To go from 3 to 4 is 33% of the 3 that you started with. To go from 4 to 3 is 25% of what you started with. That's the dropper, that's the raise. So the way they look at it is, look, we can build this 6-cylinder like just a freaking vault of an engine, right? And this thing's going to be like an anvil in terms of durability, presumably. I mean, it's already good enough to haul around a 6,500-pound Grand Wagoneer. And guys, if you haven't driven one of these things with the HO Hurricane, you'll forget that you like the way V8 sound. And here's the other thing. Inline 6s can sound amazing. Look up E-Type Jag. Those things sound disgustingly good. You know, there's a lot of fantastic 6-sounding inline 6s. But I get it. A lot of guys just like the V8 sound. You know what? That's fine. The guy with the inline 6 turbo, though, will never hear that sound because it will be behind him. So if you don't like the sound of a V6, well, that too, a GTR, or a turbo inline 6, don't race one because that's all you're going to be hearing for as long as you're in the throttle. At least if my experience has got anything to say for it. So I guess for me, I'm excited. I really am. This is something that's very cool. It's an opportunity to talk about something that is Mopar related that is in a positive light. But somebody posted up a comment in my last video that I freaking fell out of my skin on. And whoever it was, I forget your name, I apologize, but guy goes, looks like a freaking Intrepid. And I just about lost it. I thought, man, this car looks familiar, but I can't place it. And that's what it is. It looks a lot like an Intrepid. So here's where guys are really starting to have a problem with the car. It's not so much that it's powered by an inline 6 turbo that makes gobs of power or whatever. Okay, get past whatever powers it. It's the look of the thing. To me, now, and we don't know what level it is that we're looking at. Is this a top tier level car? Is it a entry level car? I'm really not sure. And in looking at the car, it looks like it's like a 8/10 or a 9/10 scale version of what we're used to seeing anyway. So, and to me, initially, that the thumbnail for this live show, it kind of looked like it had an offset wheel and tire package, at least to my eye when I initially saw it. But I'm looking at this car and I'm thinking, man, this thing has been like, there are, okay, so there are things when you put together a concept car that will never make it to production, not because they can't do it, but because there are government regulations for it. The height of the bumper, where different crash protection is, the amount of load that these things have to have, a certain amount of mass in these areas to either absorb or reroute and dissipate the force of an impact in a crash. And the best visual case scenario I can show you guys, or I can at least tell you about, was when Toyota was showing what the Supra might be versus the Supra that we got. And the Supra that they were showing us was this very athletic. I mean, it looked like a gymnast. It was just muscular and stout and just down on the ground, just and what we got was this, like, you know, pudgy little, like, cute to death little thing, but it was not the same car. It had the same lines, but it was like an animation style version of that car. It wasn't that badass concept that we first saw. And I think that's what's happened here. I think a lot of the lines are the same. I think a lot of the placement of certain things are the same, but they're just offset by the fact that you have to make a car a certain way for it to pass certain tests. And, well, it's got to be able to, you know, be approved by the government, right? So there's that. But anyway, there's a lot of that comes with it. And so when I was looking at that car, I thought, man, there's a lot about it that I know would look good, like if you stance the car out right and you put a different set of wheels and tires on it, and, you know, maybe had a little bit different, you know, wing, or maybe, you know, different, like a ground effects package, or, you know, some kind of an extra layer of downforce. Something could have been put on that car that maybe would have designated it to be a higher performance variant. But what we saw was what we saw. And I'm cool with how it looks, but I just feel like it's very plain looking. And when the Intrepid reference was given, I was like, oh, shoot, you're right. Because it does. It looks like an Intrepid from the back. But let me check in with you guys. See where y'all are at. Oh, I am having brain difficulty here. Okay. Ryan's in. What's up, Ryan? Itch is in. Good day, sir. Ryan saying, are they really got rumors that are decent, credible sources? Yes, multiple credible sources that myself and some other guys are sharing right now. But yes, there are credible sources, but we just don't know. It's not even, we don't know until it comes out. But if something changes and we don't get the hurricane, then just color me done with Dodge big time. Gary's in. Yes, Sir Franklin. Good evening. Good evening, sir. Gary's saying, I don't care if it's faster. I would rather have a V8 sound. It'll be fast though if as advertised. I'll tell you, it's tough to beat the V8 sound. And let's talk about that, guys, for just a minute, because I'm torn on something. So, Stormy's been an interesting truck for me because I really like the truck. The truck runs fine, but it's been glitchy. In my opinion, there's some technology glitchiness with that truck that is becoming to be a bit of a turnoff for me. But it runs well enough, and, you know, I really enjoy driving it. It's extremely smooth. You get the idea. But I got to tell you, Damn good sounding truck, guys. That Borla S-Type exhaust with that 5.7 liter V8. I mean, well, I mean, it's backed up to the door. Let's see what it sounds like. Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, that's hard to beat. That's real hard to beat. So, would I be happy with the 6-cylinder? I guess you have to ask the same question. Would you be happy with any of these trucks that have 6 cylinders? I think because it's an inline 6, it gets a pass. They sound different. So I know that coming into this conversation, but I've got to make a decision. Do I get on board with a new truck? Regardless of what the car is going to be, guys, we know that the Ram is going to have the Hurricane 6, and it's going to have it in both iterations. Do I get a 2-wheel drive truck with a 430 horse, or do I get a 4-wheel drive with the 540 horse? That's going to be a tough one, guys. On one hand, I don't know if I want to spend all the extra money. On the other hand, it's freaking 540 horse, and I've driven something with that engine already. I don't know if I'd want to go backwards. However, that truck is significantly heavier, but that 430 horse engine in a truck that weighs 5,400 pounds would be a ripper. I don't know that I would be too upset with the standard power variant. So you get the idea, guys. It's coming. And we already know it's coming with the truck. And we already know how well it performs in that Grand Wagoneer. And again, I have to tell you guys, if you haven't driven one, you're doing yourself a disservice. It will change your mind. I understand you like the way that the V8 sounds. I left that dealership in Stormy. I drove Stormy there, guys. I drove that Grand Wagoneer, and on the way home, Stormy felt slow. Think about that for a minute. That truck, in the air that we have right now, in good air, assuming it would hook up, is a mid 13-second truck. It felt slow compared to a vehicle that weighs 1,000 pounds more than that truck. So when you consider the options, hey, at least you're getting more power. At least you're getting something that is a plus, and it is a multiplier, not something that's going to subtract from the experience of owning one of these vehicles. And it's not just a little bit more power, guys. This isn't like we're getting 10 horsepower, 20 horsepower. This is big chunks of power. So, I mean, look at it like this, that 540 horse engine. Yeah, that's like putting a Pro Charger on your 5.7. If you've got a 4-wheel drive Ram and you put, well, really, it's more like putting a positive displacement supercharger in a way on that engine. Put that on that engine and then let it rev to 65 or 7,000 RPM. Guys, it is bananas how much power that thing makes over what the V8 does. And you can say, well, you could just make a V8 NA make more power. Kinda. See, the thing is I am on the tuning side of this. I look at tunes. I still do peer reviews for guys time to time, right? I know what we are up against with fuel quality issues. So if I know what we're up against with fuel quality issues from an NA standpoint, and I've messed around with my truck enough to where I got tired of it, really messing with the tune on that thing, you can't extract more power out of the fuel with the compression ratio that you have, with the intake manifold that you have, with the camshaft that you have, everything about the engine, right? You can't extract any more power out of it because you're running into knock issues already with what you have. So we're at the limit of fuel quality, or we're at the limit of knock threshold tolerance and or fuel quality knock resistance. So you got to think of it from those terms, guys. And to be fair, direct injection, everything that comes with this new engine. The variable camshaft is a game changer. Just take a look at the Coyote and you'll know how that works out. And for you guys that aren't familiar with what kind of a difference that can make over the cam, variable cam timing, which is in the Hemis, versus variable cam profile, which is in the Coyotes and in the Hurricane. Let me put it to you like this. For something with a variable cam timing, it only means you can advance or retard a fixed lobe separation angle camshaft. That's it. You can advance it, make more power down low, retard it, make more power up top as the engine revs out. Take all the variable intake manifold stuff out of this. We'll just talk about the camshafts right now. Variable profile, completely different thing. The cam can be extremely wide lobe separation angle for an incredibly smooth idle, or you can tune it for a very tight lobe separation angle for a very lopey idle if you wanted to. But noise, vibration, and harshness and smoothness being the key here. Wide at low RPM. Make it nice and smooth. Tip into the throttle, start applying load. Lobe separation tightens up and that cam rocks all the way forward as best it can. Start making a lot of power down low. This thing's really trucking now and it starts to retard. And as it's retarding, it's opening up its lobe separation angle. So it's retarding tight and then extending lobe separation angle, opening up the exhaust valve earlier. What all of that does is it gives you an engine that is far and away more, well, to say it's more efficient is an understatement. When we're talking about the ability for an engine to have that level of variability, you can have a lobe profile, in essence, down low that would be like a taxi cab lobe profile, and then have an outright race profile on the big end with no compromise anywhere in this thing. So that's why it's so good, and that's why making all of these changes. But let me check back in with you guys. Ryan said, I still love an internal combustion engine. I can deal with non-V8 as long as tuners and Euro domestics and Japanese. Oh, you'll be able to tune it. Gary's keeping 392 Scatty wide body. Very cool. Ryan's hanging out with Gary. Patrick's in. What's up? Ryan's liking the V8 the most. Yep. Ryan's saying if Skid 75 is in here. I read the Car and Driver article about the Ram Charger. I like this EV style much better. Very cool. Vote for that one. Eric's in. What's up, my friend? Ryan's hanging out with Eric. Let's see. Patrick already got rid of their V8, but they still have a V12. Yeah. For good reason, too. For all the good reasons. Gary's saying, I agree, twin turbo V8. And that's the thing. If it would fall in line with costing, and it could be durable enough, maybe it would be an option. Sovereign's painting. Oh, you got a P40? Hang on. Hold on. So this poster stays on my wall at all times. P40 is a good one. You can tell it's an Allison because it's got the air intake on the top of the cowl up front. Somewhere around here, I also have a pilot's guide for the P40. It's floating around in here somewhere. I just don't know where it is. Patrick's saying Buick Grand National perfected in 87. Yeah, and then they killed it. And that's a shame, too, because if that could have just had some legs. Oh, what a nasty car. Ryan's saying, right, that way I haven't got to the Warhawk. No time. Yeah, I get it. I like the way Buick Grand National sounds. I do, too. By the way, P40, much maligned aircraft. when I was a kid, my granddad was in World War II, and he had a lot of friends that were pilots, among other things. And the guys that were either the ground crew for P-40s or the pilots themselves absolutely loved that thing, but they loved it after they did a lot of hot rodding to that airplane. It had, and you'd listen to them talk, they'd say, man, anyway, I get into the Warbird stuff quite a bit, but you'd listen to these guys talk and they go, yeah, we'd put a P-40 up against anything that was in the sky below 13 to 15,000 feet. And the reason for that is because they were turning up the boost on those engines when they could get their hands on the 130 octane and 110 octane. So yeah, they would hot rod the piss out of those Allisons, and they were pretty nasty once they got through with them. And they had a roll rate that they could snap roll faster than I think anything that was in the sky. The only problem is that it didn't have a fast turn rate, but they could snap roll. Very aerobatic aircraft. Anyway, getting back to it. I'm saying, hey folks, hi Rome. Ryan saying BMW and Toyota badging still neat, not Japan muscle like the prior generations. Well, I mean, you've got the 400Z, so there is that. But there's always some kind of collusion going with manufacturers. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely not a Mark III or a Mark IV. Mark III is a good looking car too. Pack saying earlier Dodge 3.5 V6 sounds good with headers. That 3.5 V6 is a economy engine. There is nothing built in that engine that could handle boost. Arthur, got the flex and ball guy with the shade. I am wearing a long sleeve shirt. Luke Mason, I do not like the new design of the new Charger, but I am ready to see the Hurricane 6T and TT performance in the new chassis. It'll be pretty good stuff. Eric's checking in. Arthur, I like it. Yeah, it's okay. Let's get back to the styling, guys. I'm in a weird place with that car because it just looks like, to me, oh, this is going to sound bad, but to me, it gives me the feeling that it's just so, and I think in the video I called it pedestrian. The reason why I called it pedestrian is that I get this feeling from it like it's like a rental car look. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like we get all like hot and worked up over this thing, but it's gonna look more like it looks like an Intrepid, like the guy had said. It looks, oh man, what was the other one? What was the other one that maybe I am thinking of the Intrepid. Anyway, it was in that early 2000s era of cars. Anyway, it's got kind of that flavor to it. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying I'm looking at this thing and I'm thinking this looks like just a regular automobile. And I don't know that I want my Charger to look like a regular automobile. Although I will say this, the color that it's in and the wheels that they chose are really numbing the body lines of that car, I think. I would like to see that car in a finished version in, some kind of a popping contrast in color. White, silver, red, maybe a blue. I need to see it in a color that will vastly contrast from the background that I'm looking at it in. Any of the jewel tones, really. Arthur, what's up? Madeira. Captain Booze, how's it going tonight? Brian, I really like the Gen 2 Charger. But like you mentioned, the safety mandates, yeah, it's going to mellow it out. It's definitely going to pad that down a little bit. Limes is in. I'm late, but I made it in. What's up? I'm saying it'd be interesting if the base model of this car had a Pentastar, the RT equivalent, the i6, and the SP i6HO, and the Hellcat equivalent is the Banshee. I tell you what, cool if they do an EV thing with it. Well, you know what I would like? Okay, hear me out on this, fellas. Cheat code time. Who knows? Don't know. For RAM, you cannot get the HO without all-wheel drive. What if, and just What if the car with the HO is an all-wheel drive variant? I want you to think about this for a minute. All-wheel drive, let's say it does weigh 4,200 pounds, but it's got 550 horsepower, but it's all-wheel drive. That's a 10-second car on the street, my friends. On the street, that's a 10-second car. There is not a Hellcat driving around on the street right now that could deal with that car on the street from a dig at a quarter mile, for sure an eighth mile. And I don't think it would have the legs to catch it on the big end, because you got to remember a Hellcat will only trap about 124, 125. A red eye will be doing really well to trap that much. It'll get out on a drag strip, but this ain't a drag strip, fellas. What if that car is all-wheel drive? What if that all-wheel drive car does have the 550 horse? And what if that's the only way you can get it? Ooh, shoot. Let's say that car checks in at $65,000. Because see, here's the thing. That's starting to look really juicy. And let's face it, drag strips are closing down all over the United States. Who goes to a drag strip anymore? Not that you don't want to, but it's just that you can't. You can't get to it. They're closed. You mean to tell me that I could have a 10-second car on the street all the time whenever I want, and it just goes that fast? And it'll accelerate that fast? Boy, I'm telling you, what if that ends up being the case? If it did end up working out that way, God, I don't even know if you care what it looks like. I mean, I understand the styling of the car that we saw was a little bit numbed. I mean, the pictures weren't really helping to do it any justice either, but you know what I'm talking about when I say that we just don't really know what this thing looks like. With the pass-through grill and all of that, that's really trick stuff. That's cool stuff. Oh, could you imagine that car, though, with that type of powertrain? That would be insane. And what would be super crazy, awesome, cool is that you would have 430, 440 horsepower to play with in what is, in essence, an RT version. That RT version would do to a Scat Pack what the RT did to 6.1 liters when the 8-speed RTs came out. Some might say it's faster. Some might say it's the same. Some might say it's slower. It doesn't matter which car in this train you're riding in. You're on the same train. You're going to get there at about the same time. In other words, is what I'm saying. So your Scat Pack's now as fast as your Hellcat. Your RT's as fast as your Scat Pack. Don't care about anything below that. So again, this is a bet. It's almost like you're a fool if you don't place the bet. This is going to turn out so well, at least from my point of view, anyway. They're saying, I just like the normal feeling of V8. V8s are smooth, man. V8s are smooth. Inline sixes are glass, though. Ryan's saying, sweet, love the sound. Get the 2025 Ram Charger hybrid. Oh, damn, that's another one. Yeah, 650 horsepower. Yeesh, but that thing is going to be $90,000. Can't afford it. But they're saying, hey, Professor B, I like the new Charger as a coupe again and should be. Hopefully it gets a Hurricane. I agree. Offer an electric motor in the Charger if you must, but please offer the Hurricane as well. Concur. Colt's in. Hey, y'all. What's up, Colt? X is in. Here's the thing. i6 done right are awesome. I've owned 2 Turbo Supras. I think the issue for a lot of guys is when you think of Charger or Challenger, V8 is part of the recipe. It is. And, oh, it's a shame, too, because it's something that was beaten into a lot of people in the United States for years and years and years. And what we didn't have here are cars that were popular overseas. A lot of those cars were inline sixes. And no, they didn't make the outright power of the V8, but look at the racetracks that they were running on. They didn't drag race, they were road racing. And so having outright power, in fact, is a liability. In fact, it's one of the last things that you want sometimes is to have an overpowered car. If anything, for some of the type of racing that they do, you need a car that's going to be able to give you solid power throughout the rev range. And after peak power, it gives you enough over rev to either in a straightaway or at least have enough of an upside to where you're making enough power, but you can do it well, reliably without flying apart. Ask if you've ever looked at Shelby America race results, 27 Cobras, there are far more DNFs than there were final elapsed times. The 289s are the ones that did the best. Fun fact, by the way, the 390 was the engine. It was an all aluminum 390 that was originally supposed to go into that car. That was after he went to Ford and Shelby turned him down. Anyway, fun stuff though. Like saying, like McDonald's said, our burgers don't have beef. We now use salmon. Yeah, salmon is good, but you don't want it on a burger. Yeah. But what happens if you just can't get a burger anywhere? What do you do? But they were saying, so wait, the Hurricane has a cam system similar to it's not similar to VTEC. So VTEC is a completely different thing. VTEC it's a separate part of a lobe. What these engines are going to have are variable profile. In other words, lobe separation and intake center line location, just like the Coyotes do. Eric is in. What's up, Eric? Hanging out with X. X saying to me, Dodge should just make a new car for the i6. X, it's funny you mentioned that. I don't like the fact that they're calling this thing a Charger. I agree with you 100%. In fact, I would be more on board in a way if they named it the Intrepid. It kind of looks like it anyway. But think about that for just a second. It would make more sense. Call it the Conquest, call it the Intrepid, call it the Talon, call it whatever you want. But I would like for them to not associate the name with that car. That's the part that just kind of cringes me a little bit. Franklin's out. Hopefully they'll put a Hurricane in the Durango for the last year or two. Still a shame that the name is going away. Also, if not supercharged to 5.7 or go for NA 392. If you're asking for yourself, supercharged to 5.7 or the NA 392, I kind of depends. NA 392 probably would be my bet. Although one of my favorite combinations is positive displacement 5.7. Ryan saying the Avenger. Yep. Eric saying looks like a Dodge Avenger. It kind of does. You're right. Ryan saying, yeah, more an economy class car. It does look like that. It looks like a rental car to me. There's some views of that car. I'm just, I just it doesn't give me a flutter anywhere. Cam said it would look great with a metallic paint, chrome 5 spokes. Yeah, Patrick, it's marketing. Every one of the cars from 23 is a last call car. So it's marketing. There's nothing special. We were saying ASC McLaren had a GNX. Yeah, about 400 horsepower. They're fast. They were really fast. BB's asking, wondering if the Charger will come out as a drop top. That's a good question. That one, what was it, back in this past April, that was one of the conversions. We're going to have a convertible, but it's not in-house. It's a conversion. Might make for a good-looking car, though. Eric's in. Patrick's asking, what are your favorite 392 trim levels? 392, I would say 1320 be my favorite. Where I'm saying all-wheel drive i6 HO Charger, I'd surely purchase one. I actually like the design of it. It looks like the 69. It does. It's got the back treatment looks a lot like a B-body Charger. It's got a lot of that going for it. I don't see that being an issue. We're just going to have to see the thing once it hits the road. You know, sometimes it goes through kind of an adolescent period when they're giving us these images. They kind of go through that ugly puppy stage. I don't know. Maybe this is what that car is going through. I can only hope. I don't know. Ryan saying the new article I read said base of the Ram Charger hybrid will be $65,000. Well, that wouldn't be bad then. I think that one's only in 4-wheel drive too. I thought that one was going to be more expensive though. Maybe I'm wrong. Ryan said, I think it's the single motor one. There's supposed to be a single and a dual if I read right, but the dual is $650. I can't remember the single. So the STLA large platform, which was presumably what the car was going to be built on, had provisions for a dual motor and a single. So it could be. I don't know. And the other thing is in that you couldn't see if it was you couldn't see any tailpipes. So was that fuel door for a charging port or was it for a gas pump? We don't know. Eric's hanging out with Madeira. What's up? Skids is in. What up, man? Ryan don't want Dodge to give us a Wraith from the movie. Yeah. I don't know if it would pass crash compliance. Okay, I'm saying I have a friend of mine who works at the Windsor plant. He also said that they do have plans for a Challenger as well. He also implied the Charger will have a 4-door option. Okay, cool. We'll see what it looks like. Fingers crossed. Where I'm saying even the Intrepid took its design cues from the 69 Charger. The body lines are Charger lines. One coming off the front fender and the other off the quarter, diving low in the middle of the door. Yeah, I mean, it does have, you know, you can see where the DNA came from. Paulie's saying it's the base model. It's got to be. From the looks of it, I can't imagine that it's not. Patrick's saying, how about putting the Hurricane into a Dodge Aspen? Well, they sell it as a crate motor, so if you've got an Aspen laying around, I'd say go for it. X is saying just sell it as a Stealth. That's true, except they use the Stealth name, I think, for one of those small SUVs. Where I'm saying, let's not forget this thing is a hatchback. Ugh. Oh, that's not good for flex. Freaking hatchback. We're going to have to wait on this Challenger then. Nick is saying for the price, we're better off buying a 68 or 70 Challenger. That's kind of true. Good point. Touche. Skid saying pictures can be deceiving. I have to see this piece of shit person. If this inline 6 twin turbo 550, yeah, in all-wheel drive, who knows? No, I mean, it's going to be over 500. The HO version for the truck is rated at 540. Dude, how about a crate H6 in the Aries? I did, yeah, any of those. What's funny is there's so many of those cars from back in the day. What's funny is nostalgia. People get nostalgic for anything. There's some like throwaway cars that if you can find a nice version of it for whatever reason are actually collecting money right now. Patrick, I wish Ford would remake the Torino with the 351. I've got a 351 in my Mustang. Yeah, something like the Torino would actually be a pretty cool car, but I want to see it with, modern, some modern power. It could actually move. But anyway, guys, wanted to touch base with you guys. It's kind of funny. The interesting thing about this latest release is that I feel like we're getting just enough information to maybe keep us on board, but we're not getting enough information for us to get excited yet. And this is what I kind of wish would have happened. Listen, not to look a gift horse in the mouth. It's not lick a gift horse in the mouth. It's look a gift horse in the mouth. But not to lick a gift horse in the mouth. I don't want to see a base model. I don't want to see something like that. Remember when the GT500 was being, when it was being tested at Nuremberg and it had all of its livery on? I want to see something cool. I don't want to see a slab-sided rental car looking sedan-ish looking coupe. It's not really what I'm looking for. So I can't wait to see what's coming. I guess this is enough to keep the whistle wet, though. Skid's asking, what's new on the motorcycle side? Well, quite a bit. I'm actually going to be putting a video together again. I've got 2 videos out on the Daytona 660. I've got an observation of the Daytona 660, the way that it sits right now and how it's being received again. Have recently put a radiator guard on the Z1. I spent a lot of time with that bike today, by the way. And I'm getting to know it a little bit better. I've got about 1,000 miles on that bike, and there are some idiosyncrasies that I'm finding with the bike that neither good nor bad. I just have to know what to live with. And there's some things that the bike will do that that it makes sense. It's got a provision in it to keep you from money shifting it. And, but I'm on a really hard blip downshift into first gear. Sometimes it'll lock up in neutral. I am in the middle, but I figured it all out, and it's just, it is what it is. I am going to be regearing that bike. I'm going from a 15 primary to a 16 primary, and I will be, leaving it alone after that. Basically, the bigger primary sprocket is going to be swapped in there because first gear is practically useless. In fact, I've got 2 ride videos that just didn't really play well. Plus, if I post them, I don't want to go to jail. But it really will. I mean, first gear really is kind of useless when it comes down to just trying to accelerate hard, because it's almost like it rides the rear sprocket up. It just comes right up when we just whack the throttle. Anyway, I'm going to chill it out first gear, and I need a longer 5th gear. I need 5th gear to be able to comfortably carry 125 to 130 miles an hour. Right now, it'll struggle to hit 130 because it runs out of RPM, and there's a big dip between 5th and 6th. 6th in that bike is more of an overdrive, so which is cool, but I want it to chill out in 6th gear. So I want to have a 5th gear that'll carry good mile an hour, a 6th gear that'll be chill on the highway. I want to chill out first gear and extend the rest of the gears out a little bit. And that's what that's going to do, and that'll make me really happy. Eric's checking in with Polly. Thank you, sir. Ryan's hanging out with Skids. Skids saying, sat on a KTM Super Duke GT today. Talk about your Apex Predator Sport Tour. Yeah, those are pretty sick. Ryan saying, how'd you like the Duke? Yeah. Skids say the Daytona 660 looks promising. The horsepower got bumped from the Trident, which I believe was needed. It was. Everything in that category is sub 100 horsepower. And the reason for that, I don't think I mentioned it in my last video. Overseas, you have tiered licensing for motorcycles. So, like, say, tier A might be like up to 125 cc's or 250 cc's or whatever. A2 is a maximum of 94 horsepower or 98 horsepower. Anyway, it's less than 100. So that's why the CBR 650, the Ninja 650, a Prius 660, all of those bikes are under 100 horsepower to meet that requirement. And it may, because nobody is buying hyper middleweight motorcycles anymore. They don't play well on the street. They're uncomfortable for any real length of time. The people that do find them comfortable are too young or inexperienced to own them anyway. And this is a health and safety issue. I mean, anyway, there's reasons for all this. And the category that they're selling in is extremely, extremely popular. In fact, so one of the statistic was 20 years ago, like 10,000 hyper sports middleweights were sold. That's anywhere from 600s and 750s. 15 years ago, 7,000 were sold. 10 years ago, 5,000. 5 years ago, 2,000. 3 years ago, 500. Like it's terrible how they're just hemorrhaging value. Ryan's got the Scout, keeping it clean. Skid's got the Chiefs in the house, like it. Brent said new Charger looks small. It said Daytona on the rear bumper. Did it? That's pretty sweet. I didn't notice that. Well, yeah, the Dodge Charger, Banshee, Daytona, and all that stuff. We'll see. Like I say, I'm not gonna make my mind up until I actually see the thing. Skid saying, I love the Duke. Couldn't believe how wide the thing is. Yeah. Bikes are getting big. Skid saying, Ryan, I love the Scout. It's a great bike. Everybody that's got a Scout's liking them. The duck was thick. Yeah. Oh, Paul is saying, yeah, it definitely looks like a smaller car. I'll tell you guys, I'm not, when I said it looked like a 9/10 or an 8/10 version of the Charger, I really mean that. Like, it looks like it really went on a diet, lost some weight. It looks legit. LDL was saying, as far as a new Charger, I have no problem with the power sources per se, although I don't dig EVs at this point. I just don't like the look of the car. It looks seriously disproportionate. It does, doesn't it? Like, it looks, I don't know what the right word is to describe it though. But you're right. It just doesn't, it don't look right kind of quality to it. That's a bummer. Oh, Eric's hanging out with Skids. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're really nice. Those bikes are. Right. Waiting for it to quit snow, the bike out for sure. Oh, let's see. Oh, BB saying, let's wait until we see the Charger with a wide body. Yeah. Listen, that's what I'm saying. There are some things they could do to this car, guys, that'll completely transform the look of it. Oh, Cap's asking, have you ever seen a 5.7 board to the 6.1 4055? Not to 4055, I don't think I have. Most of the stuff we dealt with, they were all 10 and 20 over stuff. And then you'd run like a 4-inch crank or something like that on it. Let's see. Catch up with you guys here. And we're about to check out here in just a minute, guys. We're coming up on about an hour. So I'm just going to pick some here out of the skids. Get a Cyclops helmet to go to Deadpool. Cap say I do know it's been done. We never messed with it. Typically, when guys started getting to that level, they were buying the BGE blocks. They were buying the bigger blocks. Basically, they're just getting the 392s, or they would buy a stroker kit, be a 426 or a 411 or a 434. Sorry, saying honestly, I don't know what to think about this new Charger. The headlights do look kind of weird. Yeah. The thing is that it's part of this real narrow grill, and it's, I don't know, like I say, the other thing too is sometimes you've got to see it in person. Pictures don't do it justice. That's kind of the other thing I'm looking at. I just don't know if pictures do it justice. Right. It doesn't look muscly. It looks like a soccer player. It does look like it's been on a diet. Daniel's liking the car better than the concept. The thing with me on the concept is to me, it looked unfinished. I don't know what it was about that car. There were times where I looked at it and went, man, that looks really good. But then there are other times when I'd look at it and think, man, something's off about that thing. Skid said, I was late. Did I miss a live last week? You might have. I think I did do one last week. Eric saying he thinks it looks off. Yeah, it's got an odd front to rear proportion to it. As Sovereign saying the front end seems small, right? It almost like it tears in. I don't know. Skid said the gas cap looks humongous. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe like talking about the gas cap. I don't know. Arthur saying Stellantis. Guys, we're checking in at over an hour. I have got to wrap it up. But listen, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for hanging out tonight. When it comes to this new car, I want to give it as much slack as I possibly can. I think that there is an opportunity here to have a really awesome car. There's an opportunity to have something that is special, that is competitive. It may be a little bit different than what you're used to, but it might be exactly what we need. And it could be the real end result of the evolution of where Dodge was back in the Cold War with the Daytona, the GLH, Omni, the 600, all of these cars that were turbo 4-cylinders and turbo 6-cylinders like the Conquest or the Talon. In other words, not V8, but Hall's ass cars. This could be what that would have ended up as. And I guess that was really, I should have kind of led with that, because that to me is one of the reasons why this car speaks to me a little bit more, because it doesn't have a V8. It does have a 6 and it does have a turbo, the way that the cars that Dodge was very innovative with back in the day, they were beating V8s with small engines with turbos. It was pissing off a lot of V8 guys back then, and I have a feeling it's going to do it again now. So, guys, with that, I got to wrap it up. Listen, y'all get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, that's a wrap. Adios.